free college football picks action here for Saturday, September 9th. Tony T with our college football pick show here for Saturday action. We have all 37 games. All 37. Before we get to just a couple of things, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have free college football picks updated all season long. Free picks every day from all the major sports like NFL, like Major League Baseball, making it a great time to subscribe. And also, if you want to support our channel with that thumbs up, we greatly appreciate it. Then visit Tony'sPicks.com. We're a multi-capper site showcasing top cappers in our industry. Click the links to the hot cappers, get signed up to our long-term passes. Hot cappers like Joseph Schultz, Ramon Scott has been on fire here. Nick Fartini, keep an eye on Nick here. Collins Brown has been hot. Nick Lagaretos. Click the links, get signed to our long-term pass. You'll find our latest premium picks here center of the page. And, of course, you'll find our best bet tab with our $15 premium pick. And multi-packs offering great value. You can also purchase our plays a la carte from our pick ticker. There you're going to find team versus team information. We are loaded here for Saturday's action. And you can save 20% off all premium pick packages when you use that promo code TonyT at checkout. Access our page by clicking the link in the description. Click the All Cappers tab, get signed up. Always love to hear from you guys. You may post your picks in the comments. And we are looking for cappers. Apply on the home page. All right, let's go ahead and let's get this one started. Nebraska and Colorado college a football pick for action here on Saturday. All right, Nebraska 0-1, a 13-10 road defeat at Minnesota. Cornhuskers had success running the football, 181 yards on 37 carries. Passing game really sputtered here. Jeff Sims, the transfer, 11 of 19 for 114 yards, 3 picks and a touchdown. Defense did a good job of halting the Golden Gophers' rushing game with just a bit over 2 yards a carry. They limited Minnesota to 4.5 yards per pass attempt. Colorado sits 1-0 after a 45-42 road win at TCU. Buff's running game generated less than 2 yards per attempt. Huge game for Shedeur Sanders here, 38 of 47 for 510 yards, 4 touchdowns. He averaged 10 yards per pass attempt, I should say. Despite the win, the Buffs have work to do on special teams and on the defense. Now, Horned Frogs did rush for 262 yards and 37 carries. Cornhuskers' offense a concern here, though. They are playing back-to-back road games. Lots of excitement here for the Buffs' first home game. Their offense put up 588 yards on the road here to TCU in the opener. Play here will be Colorado at -3. Notre Dame and NC State college football pick. Here we go for Saturday's action. Notre Dame 2-0. A 56-3 home win to FCS Tennessee State. They opened with a dominating 42-3 win on a neutral field in Navy. In the Navy win, the Fighting Irish rushed for 6.5 yards a carry. Wake Forest transfer Sam Hartman, 19-23 for 251 yards and 4 touchdowns. They limited the Shipment to 169 yards, 2.5 yards per rush. Fighting Irish have 8 starters back on defense. NC State 1-0, a 24-14 road win at UConn. Wolfpack ran their football 46 times for 209 yards. Virginia transfer quarterback Brendan Armstrong, 17-26, 155 yards. Wolfpack did allow 6 yards per rush to the Huskies, but held them to 113 passing yards on 27 attempts. Only 5 returned to the defense here for the Wolfpack. That's a concern. Hartman is a major upgraded quarterback for the Fighting Irish. Notre Dame defense not tested yet here, facing Navy and Tennessee State in their first 2 games. Armstrong is in his 4th year as a starting quarterback in FBS football. Fighting Irish averaging 500 yards a game. Respect the Wolfpack getting those 24 points on the road against an improved Jim Mora Jr. coach Huskies team. Play here Notre Dame and NC State over 51.5. Texas A&M and Miami college football pick for Saturday. Texas A&M 1-0 after their 52-10 home win in New Mexico. The Aggies gained 411 yards with 4.6 yards per rush. They limited the Lobos to 222 yards with only 3 of 13 conversions on 3rd down. Texas A&M held the Lobos to 2.8 yards per rush, 4.7 yards per pass attempt. Quarterback Connor Wegman, 18-23, 236 yards and 5 touchdowns. Miami is 1-0 after their 38-3 home win to Miami, Ohio. Strong offensive performance with 250 yards rushing on 36 carries. Tyler Van Dyke on 17-22 for 201 yards with a touchdown and pick. They held the Redhawks to under 2 yards per carry and 164 passing yards on 424 attempts. Both teams experienced 20 starters back for Texas A&M, 19 for Miami. As we said, Wegman's accuracy is a concern based on his numbers from last season. Hurricanes defense really strong last week. And, of course, Van Dyke's downfield passing ability encouraging as well. Play here Miami plus 4.5. Utah and Baylor college football pick for action here on Saturday. Utah 1-0 on the year after a 24-11 home win to Florida Utes, despite gaining only 270 yards of offense there. They ran the football here for 4 yards a carry. Starting correct Cameron Rising sat out with that knee injury. Bryson Barnes 12-18, 159 yards and a touchdown. Utah held Florida to under 1 yard a carry on the ground, but 333 passing on 44 attempts. The Utes returned 9 starters to the defense. Baylor fell to 0-1, a 42-31 home defeat to Texas State. Dating back to last year, the Bears have lost 5 straight. Baylor ran for over 3 yards a carry. Quarterback Blake Shapen, 21 of 31 for 303 yards and 2 touchdowns. Defensively, the Bears held the Bobcats at 3.5 yards a carry, but Baylor got torched through the air. Bobcats throwing for 298 yards on 30 attempts. Rising and running back Jackson questionable for Utah here. Bears starting quarterback Blake Shapen is out with a knee injury. Sophomore Sawyer Robertson to start. He saw limited action in 3 games last year. Last week he went 6 of 12 for 113 yards with a pick, but 9.4 yards per pass attempt. Got that ball downfield. Could be a backup quarterbacks on the field here for Utah in this road spot. The Utes ran for only 3.5 yards a carry in that win against Florida. Despite their loss last week, the Bears did put up 524 offensive yards. Play here will be on Baylor at plus the 7.5. Iowa versus Iowa State college football pick here for action on Saturday. Iowa 1-0 after a 24-14 home victory over Utah State. They allowed the Aggies over 4 yards per rush on the ground, but limited their passing attack to only 4.4 yards per attempt. Hawkeyes sputtered offensively on the ground, 88 yards and 36 carries. Cade McNamara 17 of 30 for 191 yards with 2 touchdowns. Iowa State sits at 1-0 after a 30-9 home win to FCS Northern Iowa. Iowa State head coach Matt Campbell is in his 8th season with the team as head coach. Cyclones were a disappointing 4-8 in 2022. They returned 9 starters to the offense, 6 to the defense. The offense put up just 20 points and 370 yards a game last year. On defense, they limited opponents to 20 points and 286 yards. Their top 2 running backs returned with 3 of their top 4 receivers. Quarterback Hunter Deckers is doubtful here. Those investigations pending with him. Freshman Rocco Beck was impressive in the opener. 4 starters returned to the offensive line with inexperience defensively in the front 7. Hawkeyes' poor running game against Utah State, the concern back in the Hawkeyes on this road game in a rivalry. Play here Iowa State plus 4. Purdue and Virginia Tech college football pick for action on Saturday. Purdue 0-1 after their 39-35 home defeat to Fresno State. Purdue quarterback Hudson Card went 17 of 34, 254 yards and 2 touchdowns. Boilermakers defense coughed up the game by allowing 371 passing yards with 8.2 yards per pass attempt. Virginia Tech 1-0, a 36-17 home win to Old Dominion. Hokies ran under 3 yards a carry, but Grant Wells 17 of 29, 251 yards and 3 touchdowns. Hokies limited the Monarchs' passing attack to just 94 yards on 25 attempts and had 5 sacks. Purdue returned only half their starters with only 5 back on defense. At home, the Boilermakers allowed 487 yards to that Fresno State team with a first-year starter at quarterback. 4th-year starting quarterback Wells played well in the opener. Play here Virginia Tech minus the 3. Ball State and Georgia college a football pick here for Saturday. Ball State fell to 0-1. A 44-14 road defeat at Kentucky. The Cardinals did bring back 7 starters on each side of the field. They ran for less than 2 yards a carry. Quarterback Caden Simonza saw the bulk of the work, going 15 of 21 for 165 yards and a touchdown. They gave up almost 6 yards a carry on the ground to the Wildcats and surrendered 241 passing yards. Georgia opened the season with a 48-7 home win to FCS Tennessee Martin. Kirby Smart returns for his 8th season as head coach for Georgia. The team finished at 15-0, won the national championship. They returned 6 starters on offense, 7 to the defense. Offensively, the Bulldogs put up 41 points and 501 yards a game. On defense, they did limit opponents to 14 points and 297 yards a game. 3 of their top 4 ball carriers returned, as did their top 2 receivers. Sophomore quarterback Carson Beck under center after serving as a backup last season. The team returns 3 starters to the offensive line with experience defensively in the secondary. Ball State senior quarterback Lane Hatcher was benched as he struggled with downfield throws and replaced with a freshman. Ball State 0-6 to the spread on the road in the non-conference. Ball State surrendered nearly 6 yards per rush to Kentucky. Back-to-back SEC opponents for the Cardinals here. Play here Georgia minus the 42.5. James Madison and Virginia college football pick. Here we go for action on Saturday. James Madison 1-0 after a 38-3 home win to FCS Bucknell. Curt Cignetti returns for his 5th season as head coach for the Dukes. The team went 8-3 in 2022. They returned 6 starters on offense, 7 to the defense. The team put up 37 points and 452 yards a game last year. On defense, they limited the opposition to 21 points and 289 yards a game. GMU lost their top 3 rushers and lost 4 of their 5 top receivers. Quarterback Todd Centillo has exited the program. USF Arizona transfer Jordan McLeod 7-11 in the opener for 144 yards and 2 touchdowns. All 5 starters returned the offensive line with inexperienced defensively in the back 7. Virginia 0-1 after their 49-13 road defeat to Tennessee. Cavaliers ran for nearly 2.5 yards a carry. Quarterback Tony Muskett 9-17 for 94 yards. The Cavs gave up 4 sacks. Virginia gave up 287 rushing yards on 52 carries. In the end, Virginia did allow 499 yards to the Volunteers. Muskett is questionable with that injury. Freshman Anthony Calandria may start in his place. He saw work last week going just 2 of 7 for 12 yards. Dukes are inexperienced on the offense. Their defense has allowed single-digit scoring into 3 of their past 4 opponents. Play here, James Madison, Virginia under 42.5. Miami, Ohio, and UMass college football pick here for action Saturday. Miami 0-1 on the year after a 38-3 road defeat to Miami Hurricanes. Redhawks struggled on the ground, 51 rushing yards on 25 carries. Brett Gabbert 12 of 21 for 127 yards. Defensively, they really struggled to stop Miami. They allowed 493 yards with 250 rushing on 36 carries. Redhawks allowed 243 passing yards on 25 attempts. That's almost 10 yards per attempt there. UMass fell to 1-1 after a 59-14 road defeat to Auburn. Minutemen defense struggled, allowing 280 yards rushing on 44 carries. They surrendered 203 passing yards on 25 attempts. UMass quarterback Taysom Funmashan hit on 8 of 16 for 55 yards and an interception. First home game for the Minutemen after back-to-back road games, but they showed good offensive performance at a bowl team last year in New Mexico, against a bowl team last year in New Mexico State, putting up 41 points there on the road. UMass runs for 5.3 yards a carry. Funmashan is averaging 7.5 yards per pass attempt. Play here will be on UMass at +7. Ole Miss and Tulane college football pick. Here we go for Saturday. Mississippi 1-0 on the year after a 73-7 home win to FCS Mercer. Lane Kiffin is in his 4th season as head coach for Ole Miss. The team finished 8-5 last year, returned 9 starters to the offense, 7 to the defense. Rebels averaged 33 points and 496 yards a game in 2022. Defensively, they held opponents to 25 points and 388 yards a game. 4 of their top rushers are back, but they lose their top 2 receivers. Quarterback Jackson Dart returned at quarterback. 4 starters returned to the offensive line with experience defensively in the secondary. Tulane 1-0 on the year after their 37-17 home win to South Alabama. That is 9 of 10 point spread covers for the Green Wave. The team ran for 3.7 yards per attempt. Quarterback Michael Pratt was efficient, 14 of 15 for 294 yards and 4 touchdowns. Tulane limited the Jaguars to under 3 yards per rush and just 6.3 yards per pass attempt. Each team lost 3 fumbles, but the Green Wave had 5 sacks. Ole Miss lost 5 of 6 FBS games. Tulane defense did a really good job on South Alabama in the opener. Dart really struggled during the second half of last season. Pratt has been impressive with his downfield passing the past 5 games. Play here Tulane at +7.5. Texas State and UTSA college football pick here for action Saturday. Texas State 1-0 after a 42-31 road win at Baylor. Bobcats rushed for 3.7 yards per attempt in the game. Quarterback TJ Finley, 22 of 30 for 298 yards and 3 touchdowns. Bobcats limited the Bears' ground attack to just over 3 yards a carry. They allowed 416 yards passing on 44 attempts. UTSA 0-1 after a 17-14 road defeat at Houston. Roadrunners rushed for 5.9 yards a carry. Frank Harris, 18 of 36 for 209 yards with a touchdown and 3 interceptions. They held Houston to less than 3 yards per rush and 233 passing yards on 34 attempts. UTSA finished with a -3 turnover margin. LSU Auburn transfer Finley upgraded this Bobcats offense. Entering the season, he had seen action in 18 games of previous 3 seasons. Struggles for Harris a concern here. Play here Texas State +12.5. Troy and Kansas State college football pick. Here we go for action Saturday. Troy 1-0 after a 48-30 home win to FCS Stephen F. Austin. John Summerall returns for his second season as the Trojans head coach. The team went 12-2 last year, returned 6 starters to the offense, 6 to the defense. Offensively, they posted 25 points and 360 yards a game, running for only 3.3 yards per attempt. The defense was solid in 2022 by allowing 17 points and 327 yards a game. Their top running back returns, but they lost their top 2 receivers. Gunnar Watson returns at quarterback. Only 2 starters return to the offensive line with inexperience defensively in the back 7. Kansas State 1-0 after their 45-0 home win to FCS Southeast Missouri State. Chris Klieman returns for his 5th season as head coach. Wildcats finished at 10-4 last year, returned 8 starters to the offense, 5 to the defense. In 2022, the team put up 32 points and 419 yards a game. Defensively, the Wildcats limited foes at 22 points and 375 yards a game. They lost their top 2 running backs and 2 of their top 3 receivers. Quarterback Will Howard returns. All 5 starters are back on the offensive line with lack of experience defensively in the back 7. Trojans 6-0 in their past 6 as an underdog. Troy's carrying really a long win streak dating back to last year. Wildcats are inexperienced defensively. Gunnar Watson playing his 4th season at quarterback for the Trojans and improving with throws downfield. Play here Troy at plus the 16. UNLV versus Michigan here. College football pick here action on Saturday. UNLV 1-0 after a 44-14 home victory to FCS Bryant. Barry Odom in his first season as head coach for UNLV. The Rebels went 5-7 a year ago and returned 6 starters to the offense, 7 to the defense. The team put up 26 points and 352 yards a game last season. On defense, they limited foes to 28 points and 384 yards a game. Their top rusher exits, as do 2 of their top 3 receivers. Quarterback Doug Brumfield is back under center. UNLV returns 3 offensive linemen this season with the experience defensively in the back 7. Michigan 1-0 with their 30-3 home victory to East Carolina. They held the Pirates to under 4 yards a carry, 132 passing yards on 29 attempts. Wolverines rushed for only 4 yards per carry. Quarterback J.J. McCarthy, 26 of 30 for 280 yards and 3 touchdowns. Rebels leaned heavily on their ground game in the opener, which will be extremely difficult here. Bumfield averaged only 5.2 yards per attempt against an FCS opponent at home last week. Michigan defense too tough, and the Rebels will struggle to get points. Play here will be on UNLV and Michigan under 57.5 points. UTEP and Northwestern in college football pick for Saturday. UTEP improved here to 1-1 after a 28-14 home win to FCS Incarnate Word. They opened the year with a 17-14 road defeat at Jacksonville State. In that loss, the Miners rushed for over 3.5 yards a carry. Quarterback Gavin Hardison was 17 of 29 for 208 yards and a touchdown. The defense held the Gamecocks to 67 passing yards, but 208 rushing on 44 carries. Northwestern 0-1, a 24-7 road defeat at Rutgers. Their offense has been held to single-digit scoring in 5 straight now, dating back to last year. The offense produced just 12 rushing yards on 22 carries. Ben Bryant, 20 of 35 for 169 yards. They limit the Scarlet Knights to just under 4 yards per rush, 5.62 yards per pass attempt. Wildcats surrendered 5 sacks. Short week for Northwestern after their loss on Sunday at Rutgers. Their offense produced only 201 yards. Hardison is completing 64% of his passes with 7.2 yards per attempt, which is huge improvement from last year. Miners are rushing for 5.4 yards a carry. Play here at UTEP minus 1.5. Vanderbilt and Wake Forest college a football pick. This one here on Saturday. Vanderbilt 2-0 on the year after their 47-13 home win to FCS Alabama A&M. They opened the year in week 0 defeating Hawaii 35-28. Commodore's offense has done a good job on third down at 54% conversion rate. They are rushing for 4.2 yards a carry. In their win against Hawaii, the defense allowed 391 yards, 77% completion rate, and 10 yards per pass attempt. Wake Forest is 1-0, a 37-17 home win to FCS Elon. Dave Clawson in his 10th year as head coach for the Demon Deacons. The team finished 8-5 last year, had 5 starters return on offense, 6 to the defense. Their top running back returns, as do their top receivers. Starting quarterback Sam Hartman has transferred out to Notre Dame. Sophomore Mitch Griffiths in his debut as quarterback hit 19 of 30 for 329 yards and 3 touchdowns. 2 starters returned to the offensive line with only 2 starters returning to the front 7. Half of the Demon Deacon starters only return. That's an issue here. Second-year quarterback for Vanderbilt. Swan has played well in the early games. Too much inexperience here for the Demon Deacons, so we're going to lay these many points against an SEC opponent. Player will be on Vanderbilt plus the 10.5 points. Western Michigan and Syracuse college football pick here for Saturday. Western Michigan 1-0 after their 35-17 home victory to Stephen F. Austin. Lance Taylor enters his first season as head coach for the Broncos. The team finished at 5-7 last season, returned 8 starters to the offense, 2 to the defense. They saw the offense plummet in 2022 by averaging 19 points and 302 yards a game. On defense, they held foes to 24 points and 352 yards a game. Their top 2 running backs have left but returned 3 of their top 4 receivers. Quarterback Jack Sellepeck returns. Old Dominion transfer Hayden Wolf backs up at quarterback. 4 starters return to the offensive line with inexperience in all levels of defense. Syracuse 1-0 after their 65 home win to FCS Colgate. Dino Baber is back for his 8th season as head coach. Orange finished at 7-6 in 2022 and returned 7 starters to the offense as well as on the defense. They put up 28 points and 375 yards per game last year. On defense, the Orange limited the opponents to 23 points and 329 yards a game. Syracuse loses their top running back but returns 2 of their top 3 receivers. Quarterback Garrett Schrader is back. 3 offensive linemen return with experience defensively in the back 7. Sellepeck struggled with accuracy last year, just 49% completion, 6.1 yards per pass attempt. Player will be on Western Michigan and Syracuse under 54.5. SMU and Oklahoma college a football pick here for action on Saturday. SMU 1-0 after their 38-14 home victory to Louisiana Tech. Mustangs built that 31-0 halftime lead. Balanced attack for SMU in the win for 209 rushing yards on 41 carries. Preston Stone 23 of 37 for 248 yards and 3 touchdowns. They held the Bulldogs here 28 rushing yards on 24 carries and 241 passing on 33 attempts. Oklahoma 1-0, a 73-0 home win to Arkansas State. Sooners stormed the 45-zip halftime lead. Sooners gained 642 yards in the win. Sooners defense held the Red Rose at 208 yards. Dylan Gabriel 19-22 for 308 yards and 2 touchdowns. Gabriel is in his 4th year as a quarterback. Stone, a sophomore in his first year as a starter, really faces a major test here. Sooners defense really impressive here in the opener, so the player will be on Oklahoma, minus 15.5. Tulsa and Washington college a football pick here for action on Saturday. Tulsa 1-0 on the campaign after their 42-7 home victory to FCS Arkansas Pine Bluff. Head coach Kevin Wilson is in his first season at Tulsa. The Golden Hurricane went 5-7 in 2022. Returned 4 starters to the offense, 5 in the defense. They produced 30 points and 412 yards a game a year ago. On defense, Tulsa surrendered 33 points and 414 yards a game. Golden Hurricane lost their top 2 receivers, 5 of their top 6. Lost their top 2 running backs and 5 of their top 6 receivers. Quarterback Davis Brin has left. Braylon Braxton was the backup last year at quarterback. 3 starters returned to the offensive line with inexperience in the front 7. Washington 1-0 after a 56-18 home victory at Boise State. 28 points in each half for the Huskies. Monster game for quarterback Michael Penix, 29 of 40, 450 yards and 5 touchdowns. The run game generated 4 yards per attempt. Washington defensively did allow 4 yards per rush with 264 passing yards here on 47 attempts. Braxton suffered an ankle injury here in the openers. Questionable. True freshman Cardell Williams played and hit on 13 of 14 for 233 yards and 3 touchdowns. Tulsa only has 5 starters returning offense, but Williams also had a rushing touchdown last week. Huskies should be able to get lots of points on this Tulsa defense. Huskies defense makes it difficult to lay 5 touchdowns, though. Washington is 6-0 to the over when they gain 500 yards or greater in their home game. The player will be on Tulsa and Washington over 64.5. Marshall and East Carolina college football pick here for Saturday. Marshall is 1-0 after their 21-17 home win to FCS Albany. Charles Huff is in his 3rd season as head coach of the Thundering Herd. The team finished 9-4 and returned 7 starters on offense, 4 to the defense. They put up 24 points and 398 yards a game last year. Defensively, they limited the opposition to 16 points and 295 yards. Marshall loses their top running back, but returns 4 of their top 5 receivers. Quarterback Cam Fancher is back. 3 starters return to the offensive line with inexperience on all levels of defense. Fancher in the opener hit on 28-35 for 268 yards with a touchdown and interception. East Carolina 0-1 after their 30-3 road defeat at Michigan. Pirates struggled offensively, 235 yards 132 passing on 29 attempts. Pirates defense surrendered 402 yards, 280 passing on 31 attempts. Sophomore quarterback Mason Garcia averaged just 4.4 yards per pass attempt. Alex Finn also saw work and went 6 of 11 for 4.7 yards per attempt. ECU's lack of experience offensively the concern here, so the player will be on Marshall at -3. Appalachian State and North Carolina college football pick here for Saturday. Appalachian State 1-0 after their 45-24 home victory at Gardner-Webb FCS school here. Sean Clark is back for his 5th year as head coach for the Mountaineers. Team returned 7 starters on offense, 4 to the defense. They averaged 35 points and 455 yards a game in 2022. Defensively, they limited foes to 27 points and 347 yards a game. App State returns 2 of their top 4 rushers and all 4 of their top receivers. Starting quarterback Chase Bryce exit. Redshirt freshman Ryan Berger started at quarterback with the junior college transfer Joey Aguilar. 3 starters returned to the offensive line with inexperience in the front 7 on defense. North Carolina 1-0, a 31-17 road win here at South Carolina. Tar Heels had 39 rushing yards and averaging about 4 yards a carry. Drake May completed 24 of 32 passes for 269 yards with 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. Tar Heels stuffed that South Carolina ground attack for 2 yards on 31 carries, but 353 passing yards on 39 attempts. North Carolina has 2 receivers questionable. Half the starters are returned for Appalachian State. Quarterback situation a concern for the Mountaineers. 17 starters were back for the Tar Heels. North Carolina won their meeting last year, 63-61 in a wild one, but UNC's experience in App State is not. So the play here will be on North Carolina, -18. Kent and Arkansas college football pick. Here we go for action on Saturday. Kent 0-1 on the year after their 56-6 road defeat at UCF. Golden Flash's offense posted only 240 yards. The defensive performance was horrid as Kent surrendered 723 yards to the Knights with 389 rushing on 46 attempts. They allowed UCF 334 passing yards on 34 attempts. Junior quarterback Michael Alimo, a Purdue transfer, completed 39% of his passes, 4.7 yards per attempt. Arkansas 1-0 after a win here against FCS Western Carolina. Sam Pittman in his 4th season as head coach for the Razorbacks. The team finished at 7-6 in 2022, but returned only 4 starters on offense, 6 to the defense. They posted 32 points and 471 yards a game in 2022. Defensively, the Razorbacks surrendered 30 points and 465 yards a game. Their top 4 rushers returned, but they lose their top 4 receivers. Quarterback KJ Jefferson returned 2 offensive linemen back for the Razorbacks with inexperience defensively in the back 7. Only 4 starters returned for Kent this year, with no starters returning on the offense. Jefferson's mobility a plus here against the most inexperienced team in all of college football. Razorbacks are 13-3 to the spread when they score 28 or greater points. Play here will be on Arkansas at -37.5. Louisiana and Old Dominion at college football pick here for action on Saturday. Louisiana 1-0 after their 38-13 home victory at FCS Northwestern State. Michael DeSormo is in his 3rd season as head coach for the Raging Cajuns. The team went 6-7 in 2022 and returned 6 starters on offense, 3 to the defense. Louisiana put up 26 points and 364 yards a game last year. On defense, they held opponents to 22 points and 362 yards a game. They lost their top running back and 2 of their top 3 receivers. Quarterback Ben Wilders is back. The Raging Cajuns returned only 2 starters to the offensive line, with only 1 starter returning to the back 7. Old Dominion 0-1 after a 36-17 road defeat to Virginia Tech. Monarchs rushed for only 5 yards per carry on the game, not for over, I should say, 5 yards per carry on the ground. But the passing game sputtered with just 94 yards on 25 attempts. They allowed the Hokies 259 yards passing on 30 attempts. Wilson had issues passing, but the guy's a threat to run. 81 yards on 19 carries to the quarterback position. Louisiana, with the first-year head coach and inexperience, makes it a tough to lay road chalk here. Play here will be on Old Dominion at +6. New Mexico State and Liberty college football pick here for Saturday. All right, New Mexico State 1-1, a 58-21 home win to FCS Western Illinois. The Aggies opened the season home to UMass and lost 41-30. They allowed the Minutemen to run for 5 yards a carry and throw for 197 yards on 17 attempts. Aggies did gain over 7 yards to carry on the ground. Liberty 1-0, a 34-24 home victory to Bowling Green. Flames rushed for 246 yards on 49 carries, but their defense allowed over 6 yards per rush. They did limit the Falcons to 4.4 yards per pass attempt. Diego Pavia completing 67% of his passes with 12.3 yards per pass attempt. This was a bowl team last year coached by Jerry Kill. Salter completed only 55% of his passes against a MAC team. He is a run threat, rushing for 82 yards on 19 carries, but only 5 starters were back on offense and defense for the Flames. Liberty had lost 4 straight prior to their win against Bowling Green, so the player will be on New Mexico State at plus 10.5. Ohio and FAU college, a football pick here for action on Saturday. Ohio 1-1 after their 27-10 home victory at FCS LIU. They opened the year at San Jose State and dropped a 20-13 decision. Bobcats allowed nearly 5 yards here per rush to the Aztecs. They gained less than 3 yards per rush and threw for the ball 52 times for 278 yards. FAU 1-0 after a 42-20 home win to FCS Monmouth. Tom Herman is in his first season as head coach for FAU. The team finished at 5-7 in 2022 and returned 8 starters on offense, 10 to the defense. Offensively, they posted 30 points and 412 yards a game a season ago. They surrendered 26 points and 425 yards a game. Their top 2 running backs returned, as do 4 of their top 5 receivers. Quarterback N'Kosi Perry has left. Nebraska transfer Casey Thompson starts at quarterback. 3 starters return to the offensive line with experience defensively in the front 7. Bobcats quarterback Curtis Rourke was injured in the loss to San Diego State. He sat out last week and is a game-time decision here. In the loss, San Diego State, C.J. Harris completed just 43% of his passes for 4.8 yards per attempt. He threw for a touchdown and 3 interceptions. FAU defensive experience and the injury to Rourke puts the check mark here on the home team play here. FAU minus the 4.5. Oregon and Texas Tech college football pick. This one here is on Saturday. All right, Oregon 1-0 after their 81-7 home victory to Portland State. Dan Lanning returns for his second season as head coach for Oregon. The team went 10-3 in 2022. They returned 8 starters on offense, 8 to the defense. They posted 39 points and 501 yards a game last year. Defensively, they surrendered 27 points and 381 yards a game. Their top 4 rushers returned along with 3 of their top 4 receivers. Starting quarterback Bo Nix is back. 3 starters returned to the offensive line with experience on all levels on defense. Texas Tech 0-1 after their 35-33 road defeat to Wyoming in overtime. Red Raiders blew an early 17-0 lead after 1 quarter. The run game posted 3 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed the Cowboys 4 yards per rush and only 149 passing yards on 34 attempts. Game was tied at 20-20 after 4 quarters. Quarterback Tyler Shell played well, completing 31 of 47 for 338 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception. He's just needed some help from the running game. Shell ran the ball 72 times last season. Red Raiders have all 11 back on offense. Nix last year completed 72% of his passes, 8.8 yards per attempt, and averaged 5.7 yards per rush. Looks like a lot of passing in this game. Ducks balance offensively, points to some big plays on offense. Red Raiders' lack of run game, the concern here. Play here, Oregon minus 6.5. UCF and Boise State college football pick here for action on Saturday. UCF 1-0 after their 56-6 home victory to Kent. Now, Knights beat the most inexperienced team in all of college football here. You know, the Knights crushed the Golden Flashes defense for 723 yards, 389 rushing on 46 carries. They limited Kent to just 240 yards with under 3 yards a carry on the ground. Boise State 0-1 after their 56-19 road defeat at Washington. Bronco defense was crushed by the Huskies' passing attack for 490 yards on 42 attempts. They did allow 4 yards per rush. Boise State did produce 402 yards with nearly 5 yards per carry. Quarterback Talon Green completed just 19 of 39, 244 yards with a touchdown and pick. He did see work in 11 games in 2022 with 7.5 yards per pass attempt and completing 61% of his passes. Now, UCF quarterback John Rhymes Plumlee, strong performance in the win against Kent. He is a running style quarterback who has been effective on the ground. Knights won last year's game here, and it was a huge performance in the second half to overcome a deficit as they put up 573 yards on that Broncos defense. Plumlee's an experienced quarterback. Boise State defense here, the massive concern. Play here, UCF minus 3.5. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, a college football pick. Here we go for action on Saturday. Cincinnati 1-0 after their 66-13 home victory at FCS Eastern Kentucky. Scott Satterfield in his first year as head coach for Cincinnati. Team finished 9-4 last year, returned 3 starters on offense, 6 to the defense. They put up 29 points and 372 yards a game in 2022. On defense, they limited foes to 20 points and 335 yards a game. Bearcats lose their top rusher from last year and all their impact receivers. Quarterback Ben Bryant has left the team. ASU transfer Emory Jones takes over at quarterback in his senior season. 2 starters return to the offensive line with experience in all 3 levels of defense. Pittsburgh 1-0 on the year, following a 45-7 home victory to FCS Walford. Pat Narduzzi in his 9th season as head coach for the Panthers. The team finished 9-4 last season, returned 7 starters to the offense, 5 to the defense. Offensively, the team put up 31 points and 406 yards a game. That defense held opponents to 24 points and 330 yards per game. Pittsburgh lost their top running back that produced over 1,400 yards on the ground. 3 of their top 4 receivers are back. Quarterback Keenan Slovis exits the program. Boston College transfer here, Phil Jurkovich under center. 3 starters returned to the offensive line with experience only at the linebacker position. Emory Jones' mobility, a plus. Jurkovich has been haunted with interceptions in his college career. Both defense and experience play here. Cincinnati plus the 7.5. Houston and Rice, college football pick. Here we go for action on Saturday. Houston 1-0 after their 17-14 home victory to UTSA. Cougars' run game generated less than 3 yards a carry. They allowed 208 yards rushing on 35 carries to the Roadrunners. Houston picked off 3 passes and limited the Roadrunners' passing attack. Rice 0-1 after the 37-10 road defeat to Texas. Al's offense produced only 176 yards with 27 rushing yards on 27 carries. On defense, they allowed 4 yards per rush with 300 passing yards on 36 attempts. Quarterback JT Daniels went 14-26 for 149 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. Daniels put up decent numbers in his time with Georgia in 2020 and 2021. Houston quarterback Donovan Smith completed 22 of 34 for 233 yards and 2 touchdowns in victory. He is a Texas Tech transfer that played in 21 games the past 2 seasons. Owls have experience with 8 returning on offense, 7 to the defense. Daniels have shown good qualities in his college career. Play here will be on Rice at plus the 10.5. Memphis and Arkansas State, college football pick here for action on Saturday. Memphis 1-0 after their 58-14 home victory to FCS Bethune-Cookman. Ryan Silverfield returns for his 5th year as head coach of Memphis. Team went 7-6 last year, returned 6 starters to the offense as well as the defense. They posted 35 points and 421 yards a game in 2022. Defense, the Tigers surrendered 26 points and 363 yards a game. Memphis returned 5 of their top 6 rushers but lost their top 4 receivers. Quarterback Seth Hennigan returned for his junior season. 3 starters returned to the offensive line with inexperience defensively in the front 7. Arkansas State 0-1 after their 73-0 road defeat to Oklahoma Sooners. Red Wolves were down 45-0 at the half. They surrendered 642 yards to the Sooners, 422 passing on 33 attempts. Oklahoma ran the football for 220 yards on 49 carries. Red Wolves rushed for 2 yards per attempt. Quarterback JT Shrout 12 of 26 for 148 yards. Shrout is a transfer from Colorado that completed only 44% of his passes. Arkansas State lost half their starters this year. Quarterback position for the Red Wolves not good. Hennigan is experienced. Play here Memphis minus the 21.5. North Texas and FIU, college football pick for Saturday. North Texas falls to 0-1 after their 58-21 home defeat to Cal Golden Bears. Mean Green defense was torched for 669 yards, 357 rushing on 56 carries. They allowed 312 passing yards. North Texas gained only 225 yards with under 2 yards per rush. FIU 1-1 after their 14-12 home victory to FCS Maine. They opened at Louisiana Tech here and dropped a 22-17 road decision by giving up a late touchdown run. The Golden Panthers did have success running the football in that game with 6 yards per rush attempt. On defense, they allowed 333 passing yards on 44 attempts. Quarterback Keon Jenkins made his first start against Maine. Grayson James was benched after that opening loss to Maine as the team threw for just 4 yards. North Texas quarterback Stone Earl completed 12 of 19 for 174 yards with 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions with 9.2 yards per pass attempt. Mean Green defense makes it just too hard to lay over 2 touchdowns here, almost 2 touchdowns here on the road. Looks like a quarterback upgrade to Jenkins for the Golden Panthers. Play here FIU here at plus the 12.5. UAB versus Georgia Southern College. A football pick. This one here is on Saturday. UAB 1-0 on the year after their 35-6 home victory to FCS NCAAF. Trent Dilfer is in his first season as head coach for the Blazers. The team finished 7-6 last year. They returned 3 starters on offense, 4 to the defense. They put up 30 points and 438 yards a game last year. Defensively, UAB held opponents to 23 points and 361 yards a game. The Blazers here lost 2 of their top 3 running backs along with their top receiver. Quarterback Dylan Hopkins left the program via transfer. Junior Jacob Zeno is a transfer here from Baylor. No starters returned to the offensive line with inexperience defensively on all 3 levels of defense. Georgia Southern 1-0 after their 34-0 home victory at FCS Citadel. Clay Helton back for his second season as head coach for the Eagles. They finished at 6-7 last year, returned 9 starters to the offense, 4 to the defense. Georgia Southern averaged 33 points and 466 yards a game in 2022. On defense, they surrendered 31 points and 488 yards a game. Eagles allowed 5.5 yards per rush. 2 of their top 3 running backs returned, as did their top 2 receivers. Quarterback Kyle Van Treese exit the program. Tulsa transfer Davis Brin is the starter at QB. 4 starters back on the offensive line with 4 first-year starters defensively in the secondary. Now, Zeno saw limited action last year, but tossed 3 interception is 102 passing attempts and 7.1 yards per pass attempt. He did play well at FAU and at home to UTSA and is a threat to run. Brin, not mobile. In his past 2 seasons, he threw for 35 touchdowns, but 24 interceptions. Both teams are inexperienced on defense. Run defense, the concern for the Eagles laying a touchdown here. Brin's interceptions issue also concerning. Play here UAB at plus the 7. UConn and Georgia State college football pick here for action on Saturday. Connecticut 0-1 after a 24-14 home defeat to NC State. Huskies had success running the football, 160 yards on 26 carries. Defensively, they limited the Aggies' passing attack, but allowed 209 rushing yards on 46 carries. Main transfer Joseph Pagano, 14-26 for 113 yards and an interception. Georgia State 1-0 after their 42-35 home victory to FCS Rhode Island. Panthers allowed the FCS school 520 yards with 408 passing yards on 40 attempts. Sean Elliott is in his 7th year as head coach with Georgia State. The team went 4-8 in 2022 and returned 7 starters on offense, 5 of the defense. Panthers offense averaged 30 points and 417 yards a game last year. The defense surrendered 31 points and 399 yards a game. Georgia State has 2 of their top 3 rushers back along with 5 of their top 6 receivers. Quarterback Darren Granger returned for a senior year. 3 starters returned to the offensive line with inexperience on the defensive line and secondary defensively. More stability in the quarterback position for the Panthers. Last year, Granger averaged 8.2 yards per attempt, rushed for 734 yards for 4.5 yards per attempt. Play here Georgia State minus the 3. Texas and Alabama college football pick for Saturday. Texas 1-0 after the 37-10 home victory to Rice. Longhorns' run game produced 4 yards a carry. It was a solid defensive effort for Texas to hold the Owls at 27 rushing yards, 149 passing on 26 attempts. They forced 3 Rice turnovers. Quinn Ewers was impressive in his debut, hitting 19 of 30 for 260 yards with 3 touchdowns and 8.7 yards per attempt there in the passing game. Alabama 1-0 after a 56-7 home victory to Middle Tennessee State. Crimson Tide rushed for 5 yards a carry in the win. Jalen Milroe in the opener hit 13 of 18 for 194 yards and 3 touchdowns. He is a threat to run with 48 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Last year's meeting was low scoring, Alabama winning 20-19. Ewers last year against Alabama 9 of 17 for 134 yards, averaging 11 yards per attempt. Milroe's running in full game here from Ewers here could really open up this one to a high-scoring affair. Play here Texas and Alabama over 54. Wisconsin and Washington State college football pick. This is action here for Saturday. Wisconsin 1-0 on the year with their 38-17 home victory to Buffalo. Strong rushing performance for the Badgers as they rushed for 314 yards on 40 attempts. They allowed 4 yards per rush to the Bulls with less than 5 yards per pass attempt. Tanner Mordecai went 24 of 31 for 189 yards with a touchdown but 2 picks. Washington State 1-0 after their 50-24 road win to Colorado State. Cougars held the Rams at 3 points after 3 quarters. Their running attack generated less than 3 yards a carry. Defensively, they held Colorado State to under 2 yards per rush. 320 passing yards on 44 attempts. A huge game for Cameron Ward at quarterback. He goes 37-49 in this road win, 451 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's a threat to run. First-year offensive coordinator system really looked well here. Art Buckle here for this Washington State team. We're working for this quarterback, Ward. I remember he is a transfer a few years ago from Ingarnet Ward. Mordecai averaged only 6.1 yards per attempt at home to a MAC team. Run defense promising start here for the run defense is promising. Here in their opener, the play will be Washington State plus the 6. Auburn and California college football pick for action on Saturday. Auburn 1-0 after their 59-14 home victory to UMass. Tigers went up 31-7 at the half. Auburn crushed the Minutemen on the ground as they rushed the football for 289 yards on 44 carries. They did allow 5 yards per rush with 161 passing yards on 24 attempts. Michigan State transfer Peyton Thorne got the start, hitting 10-17 for 141 yards and a touchdown. Cal 1-0, a 58-21 road win at North Texas. Golden Bears rolled up 669 yards on that mean green defense. The team rushed for 357 yards on 56 carries. They limited North Texas to under 2 yards per rush and 184 passing yards on 26 attempts. Sam Jackson saw limited action. He suffered an injury and a game decision here. The quarterback here in this spot for Cal, but the NC State transfer, Ben Finley, 24-34, 279 yards with a touchdown and a pick. He struggled with accuracy in his limited work with the Wolfpack. Thorne struggled with interception his time with the Spartans. Both teams are experienced. Golden Bears have covered 3 straight dating to last year. Tigers struggled on the road in 2022. Cal's performance on both sides very promising here. Play here will be on Cal plus the 6.5. Oklahoma State and Arizona State college football pick for action here on Saturday. Oklahoma State 1-0 after their 27-13 home victory to Central Arkansas FCS school. Mike Gundy is in his 19th year as head coach. The team went 7-6 last year, returned 7 starters to the offense, 6 to the defense. Cowboys averaged 30 points and 405 yards a game a year ago. Running game generated only 3.4 yards an attempt. Their defense gave up 29 points and 436 yards a game. Oklahoma State lost their top running backs and their top 2 running backs and 4 of their top 5 receivers. Starting quarterback Spencer Sanders is gone. Garrett Rangel started at quarterback, but 3 of them altogether saw action. 4 starters returned to the offensive line with inexperience defensively on the line and secondary. Arizona State 1-0 after a 24-21 home victory to Southern Utah. Kenny Dillingham is in his first year as head coach. ASU 3-9 in 2022, returned 8 starters to the offense, 5 of the defense. Sun Devils posted 26 points and 387 yards a game in 2022. On defense, they allowed 31 points and 422 yards a game. The team loses their top 2 rushers, but their 3 top receivers are back. Quarterback Emory Jones transferred. True freshman Jaden Rashada got the start at quarterback in a heated summer battle. 4 starters are back on the offensive line with inexperience defensively in the front 7. Rashada had a good showing in his opener, but that was against an FCS team. Oklahoma State quarterback situation is still a major concern. True freshman has a major test here for Arizona State. At the quarterback spot, the play here will be Oklahoma State and Arizona State under 56.5. Arizona and Mississippi State college football pick here for action on Saturday. Arizona 1-0 after the 38-3 home victory in Northern Arizona. Jed Fish is in his 3rd year as head coach for Arizona. Wildcats were 5-7 last season, returned 8 starters on offense, 3 to the defense. Arizona posted 31 points and 462 yards a game last season. On defense, they surrendered 36 points and 468 yards a game. Their top rushers returned, as do 4 of their top 5 receivers. Quarterback Jaden DeLora returns, as do 3 starters on the offensive line. Their defense is inexperienced on all levels. Mississippi State is 1-0 after their 48-7 home victory to FCS Southeast Louisiana. Zach Arnett is in his 2nd season as head coach for Mississippi State. It is his first full season and the former defensive coordinator for the school. Bulldogs finished 9-4 in 2022 and returned 8 starters on offense, 4 to the defense. They averaged 31 points and 393 yards a game last year. Defense held foes to 23 points and 346 yards a game. Their top rusher is back, but the Bulldogs lost 3 of their top 4 receivers. Will Rogers returned at quarterback. 4 starters returned to the offensive line with inexperience defensively on the line and secondary. They met last year with Mississippi State winning 39-17 on the road. Wildcats struggled in the loss with the ground attack and averaged only 5 yards per pass attempt. DeLora threw 3 interceptions in the game. there. Rutgers was accurate last year and is in his 4th season as quarterback for the Bulldogs. Dolores struggled with interceptions last year. The signal caller also struggled last year against good defensive team in Utah. Play here at Mississippi State here at -9. Stanford and USC college football pick. Here we go for action on Saturday. Stanford here is 1-0 after the 37-24 road win at Hawaii. This broke a 5-game losing streak dating back to last year. Cardinal put up 402 yards with over 4 yards per rush. They held the Warriors to -5 yards rushing, but 355 passing yards on 53 attempts. Stanford had 6 sacks. Sophomore quarterback Ashton Daniels impressive in the opener, 25 of 36, 248 yards and 2 touchdowns. He threw 6 passes in his freshman year. Now USC improved to 2-0. A 66-14 home victory in Nevada. Trojans rolled up 668 yards on that Wolfpack defense with 215 rushing on 20 carries. USC held Nevada to under 2 yards per carry, but 311 passing yards on 34 attempts. Another huge passing performance by Caleb Williams. Trojans look part of that high-octane offense whose defense will give up points. Stanford's offense is showing promising enough for an over here. Play here will be on Stanford and USC to go over total of 69.5. Southern Miss and Florida State college football pick. This one is on Saturday. Southern Miss 1-0 after their 40-14 victory to FCS Alcorn State. Will Hall is back for his 3rd season as head coach. The team finished 7-6 in 2022. They returned 9 starters to the offense, 6 to the defense. They put up 25 points and 349 yards a game a year ago, while on defense, the Bulldogs held opponents to 23 points and 372 yards a game. Team returns their top rusher along with 5 of their top 6 receivers. Starting quarterback Zach Wilkie returned but failed to earn the starting position. Clemson transfer Billy Wiles got the start. 4 starters returned the offensive line with inexperience defensively in the back 7. Florida State is 1-0 after their 45-24 home victory at LSU on Sunday night. Down 17-14 at the half, the Seminoles outscored the Tigers 31-7 in the second half. FSU gained 4 yards per rush in the win. They allowed 4 yards to carry to LSU, but 347 passing yards on 37 attempts. Jordan Travis, 23 of 31 for 342 yards. He had 4 touchdowns and a pick. He averaged 11 yards per attempt against LSU. Travis is experienced. This is his 4th season. Bulldogs quarterback Billy Wiles threw 4 passes for Clemson in 2021. He had an impressive debut, but that wasn't against an FCS school. Southern Miss inexperience in the secondary concern. It's just tough to lay this huge number on a short week. Wiles' performance promising. Play here, Southern Miss and Florida State over 53. Air Force versus Sam Houston State college. A football pick here for action on Saturday. Air Force 1-0 after their 42-7 home victory to FCS Robert Morris. Troy Calhoun is in his 17th season as head coach. The Falcons went 10-3 last year, returned 5 starters on offense, 8 to the defense. The team posted 28 points and 397 yards a game last year. Defensively, they limited opponents to 13 points and 254 yards a game. Falcons lose 4 of their top 5 rushers and lose their top 2 receivers. Quarterback Zach Lear attempted only 3 passes. He rushed 14 times for 99 yards and 2 touchdowns. 3 starters returned to the offensive line with inexperience defensively in the front 7. Sam Houston State 0-1, a 14-0 road defeat at BYU. They lose their lone game against FBS school last year at Texas A&M. And that was a down Aggies team. They lost at 31-0. Bearcats offense produced less than 2 yards per rush against the Cougars. Their defense played well to hold BYU to under 4 yards a carry, 145 passing yards on 33 attempts. Quarterback Keegan Shoemaker, 18 of 33, 147 yards, 3 picks. He completed just 46% of his passes with 5.5 yards per attempt last year in the FCS. Neutral site game played at NFL Stadium in Houston. Bearcats offense, massive concern, and also they're facing triple option offense after playing at BYU, as well as Lazier has seen action in 9 games last past 2 seasons. Seems to be a really good runner of the football and does give that triple option a really, really strong quarterback there to run it. Play here, Air Force minus 13.5. Charlotte and Maryland college football pick for action on Saturday. Charlotte 1-0 after their 24-3 home victory at FCS South Carolina State. Biff Poggi is in his 1st season as head coach. The team finished 3-9 in 2022. They returned 4 starters to the offense, 6 to the defense. The 49ers offense produced only 24 points and 387 yards a game last season. The defense surrendered 39 points and 484 yards a game. Their top 4 rushers are back, but they lose their top 4 receivers. Quarterback Chris Reynolds has left as did his 3 backups. Florida Bethune-Cookman transfer Jalen Jones is under center for his senior year. 2 starters return to the offensive line with inexperience defensively in the line and secondary. Maryland 1-0 after the 38-6 home victory at FCS Townsend. Mike Loxley returns for his 5th season as head coach. The team went 8-5 a year ago, returned 5 starters on offense, 6 to the defense. The Terrapins put up 28 points and 402 yards a game last year. The defense held foes at 23 points and 357 yards a game. All top rushers returned for Maryland, as did their top 2 receivers. Quarterback Talia Tagliavoa returned, only 1 starter on the offensive line, back with inexperience defensively in the front 7. Jones struggled with accuracy in his year in the FCS. Tagliavoa has all his weapons back in 2023. It's really a tough spot for a first-year head coach in his first road game against this playmaker experience on the with Maryland. 49ers' lack of experience on offense, major concern here. Play here, Maryland minus 24.5. Eastern Michigan and Minnesota college football pick. Here we go for Saturday. Eastern Michigan 1-0 after a 33-23 home victory at FCS Howard. Chris Crane returns for his 10th year as head coach for the Eagles. The team finished 9-4 in 2022. Returned 4 starters to the offense, 7 to the defense. The team put up 30 points and 365 yards a game a season ago. On defense, they limited foes to 28 points and 377 yards a game. Returning are their top 3 running backs, but only one of their impact receivers. Quarterback Taylor Powell has exited the program. Sophomore Austin Smith is under center. 2 starters return to the offensive line with inexperience on the defensive line and secondary. Minnesota 1-0 after the 13-10 home victory in Nebraska. Down 10-3 late, the Golden Gophers really rallied for 10 points in the final 2.5 minutes. Poor offensive showing for Minnesota, rushing for just over 2 yards a carry. They did allow 4.5 yards per rush to the Cornhuskers, that limited their passing to 114 yards on 19 attempts. Sophomore quarterback Alan Kalemanis completed just 54% of his passes with 4.5 yards per attempt. Golden Gophers lost their top running backs and quarterback from last year. Their offense just doesn't look good right now, so play will be Eastern Michigan plus 20.5. Jacksonville State and Coastal Carolina college football pick. Here we go for Saturday's action. Jacksonville State 2-0 after their 49-3 home win to FCS East Tennessee State. The Gamecocks opened the year defeating UTEP 17-14 at home. Jacksonville State ran for 208 yards on 44 carries in the win against the Miners, with the defense allowing less than 4 yards a carry. Quarterback play was subpar. Zion Webb just 10-20 for 67 yards. He did a rush for 55 yards on 10 carries. Coastal Carolina drops to 0-1 at 27-13 road defeat at UCLA. Chanticleers rushed for less than 2 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed the Bruins over 5 yards per rush, along with 264 passing yards on 29 attempts. Grayson McCall had a disappointing debut in his senior season, just 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 6.5 yards per attempt. Chanticleers are inexperienced on defense. They've lost 4 straight dating back to last year with poor defensive play. Play here will be on Jacksonville State plus the 14. Middle Tennessee State and Missouri college football pick here for action Saturday. Middle Tennessee State 0-1 after their 56-7 road defeat at Alabama. Blue Raiders struggled on both sides of the football. The offense rushed for 3 yards a carry. Sophomore quarterback Nicholas Fatidio completed 21 of 32, 127 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 4 yards per attempt. On defense, they surrendered 431 yards to the Crimson Tide with 5 yards per rush, 226 passing yards on 24 attempts. Missouri 1-0 after their 35-10 home victory to FCS South Dakota. Eli Drinkwitz is in his 4th season as head coach for Missouri. Tigers were 6-7 in 2022, returned 7 starters to the offense, 8 to the defense. The team posted 25 points and 370 yards a game. The defense held opponents in 2022 to 25 points and 341 yards a game. Their top 3 rushers are back, but they lost their top 2 receivers. Quarterback Brady Cook is back. The team returns 3 starters to the offensive line with inexperience defensively in the front 7. Cooks last year did complete 65% of his passes with 8.1 yards per attempt. He is a threat to run the football. Blue Raiders brought back only 5 starters to the offense and will be challenged to get points on the board. It is also a tough spot for the Blue Raiders, playing back-to-back road games against SEC and following a game at a physical Alabama team. Play here Missouri minus the 21. Temple and Rutgers college football pick for action on Saturday. Temple 1-0 after their 24-21 home victory to Akron. The Owls overcame a 21-10 halftime deficit. The team struggled running the football with only 61 yards on 28 carries against a MAC team at home. On defense, they limited the Zips to under 3 yards per rush and 205 passing yards on 29 attempts. Second-year quarterback E.J. Warner went 28 of 49 for 292 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rutgers 1-0 after a 24-7 home victory in Northwestern. Scarlet Knights rushed nearly 3 yards a carry. They limited the Wildcats at 12 rushing yards, 189 passing on 40 attempts. Quarterback Gavin Wimsatt completed 17 of 29 for 163 yards with a touchdown and only 5.6 yards per attempt. Wimsatt has completed less than half his passes the past 2 seasons in limited work. Owls are an experienced defense with 9 returning starters. Just prefer Warner at quarterback. Play here will be Temple at +9. UCLA and San Diego State college football pick here for action on Saturday. UCLA 1-0 after a 27-13 home victory at Coastal Carolina. Bruins offense produced over 5 yards per rush. They limited the Chanticleers to under 2 yards a carry on the ground and 289 passing yards on 43 attempts. 3 interceptions were thrown by Bruins quarterbacks. Ethan Garbers 10 of 17 for 121 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. Freshman Dante Moore saw work going 7 of 12 for 143 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. San Diego State 2-0 after their 36-28 home victory to FCS Idaho State. Aztecs opened the year with a 20-13 home victory to Ohio. Aztecs held the Bobcats to just over 3 yards per attempt. They allowed 278 passing yards on 52 attempts. San Diego State rushed for just under 5 yards a carry. Jalen Madden went 17 of 27 for 164 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, in the win against their FCS opponent last week, he averaged only 4.6 yards per attempt. Quarterbacks on both sides of concern here. More if he sees time is a freshman playing in his first road game. Play here UCLA and San Diego State under 48.5 points. Okay, that was our college football pick show here for action on Saturday. Got all 37 for you. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have free college football picks updated all season long. Free picks every day from all the major sports like NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, college basketball. Not too far away. We'll have those picks for you as well. Making it a great time to subscribe. And also, if you would, remember to support our channel with that that thumbs up on this video. It helps us out a lot. And visit our site, tonyspace.com. You see there in the description, in the link, you'll get the link to our site. And use that promo code TonyT at checkout. You can see it right there. You'll save 20% off. All right, I'm Tony T. Back with more picks later on.